I'd been at the diner all evening, covering a double shift to pay off my car repairs. By 1 a.m., my feet ached, and the smell of grease clung to my uniform. The manager let me go early, and I stepped into the night, the suburbs' quiet streets a stark contrast to the diner's clamor. My house was a 20-minute walk, and the cool air felt good, clearing the fog of a long day. I adjusted my backpack, my sneakers soft on the pavement, and started home, the streetlights casting long shadows. A few blocks in, I heard footsteps behind me, steady, unhurried, like someone else was out for a late walk. No big deal, I thought. People walk at night. I kept going, humming to myself, but the steps didn't fade. They stayed constant, just close enough to notice. I glanced back, casual, not wanting to seem paranoid. A guy was there, maybe 30 feet back, in a dark hoodie, hands in pockets, head down. Just some neighbor, probably. I shrugged it off, but a small knot formed in my gut. I turned onto a quieter street, expecting the steps to veer off, but they didn't. They followed, matching my pace. My pulse ticked up. Okay, maybe he lives this way too. To test it, I took a random side street, one I never used, narrow and lined with old row houses. The footsteps stayed with me, closer now, the rhythm too precise. I checked again, same guy, same hoodie, still trailing, his face hidden. My stomach twisted. Was he following me? I took another turn, then another, weaving through the maze of back streets, my heart starting to race. Every time I looked, he was there, never falling back, always just close enough to keep me in sight. Panic crept in, slow at first, then sharp. This wasn't a coincidence. I'd seen enough horror movies to know how this played out. The girl who ignores the signs, the one who doesn't run until it's too late. Should I scream? Was that too soon? What if he was just some guy going home, and I was overreacting? But the steps were louder now, faster, like he was closing the gap. I second-guessed myself, my mind spinning. Was he really after me, or was I turning a late-night walk into a nightmare? I walked faster, my breath hitching, trying to stay calm. Maybe if I got to the main road, he'd back off. I glanced back again, and he was closer, 15 feet. Maybe, his strides long and purposeful. My chest tightened. He wasn't just following, he was gaining. Every horror movie I'd ever watched screamed at me to run, but I hesitated, still doubting. What if I was wrong? Then I heard it. A quick shuffle, like he'd broken into a jog. That was it. My body decided before my mind. I bolted, my backpack slamming against my spine, adrenaline flooding me like fire. I looked back, and he was running too, hoodie bouncing, arms pumping, his face still shadowed but his intent clear. My heart felt like it would burst. I wanted to faint, to collapse right there, but the fear pushed me forward, my legs moving on instinct. I screamed, a raw, desperate sound I didn't know I could make, tearing through the quiet. Help! Someone! My voice echoed off the houses, but the streets were empty, the windows dark. I didn't know where I was running. Just away, my sneakers pounding, my lungs burning. The footsteps thundered behind me, closer, relentless. I screamed again, louder, my throat raw, praying someone would hear. I darted around a corner, nearly tripping, my vision blurring with tears and terror. What's going on? A voice boomed, cutting through my panic. I skidded to a stop, almost crashing into a man standing in his driveway, a trash bag in hand. He was in his 40s, broad-shouldered, with a concerned frown. I doubled over, gasping, trying to form words. Someone chasing me, I managed, pointing down the street, my hands shaking. He stepped forward, squinting into the dark. Where? I looked back, expecting to see the guy, but the street was empty, just shadows and streetlights. My stomach dropped. Was he hiding? Had he slipped away? The man, Dave, he said his name was, scanned the road, his expression skeptical. I don't see anyone, he said, his voice calm but firm. It's not safe to walk alone this late, you know. You okay? I nodded, still catching my breath, my legs trembling. Had I imagined it? No. I'd seen him running, heard his steps. But where was he now? Dave pulled out his phone. "Let's get you a cab," he said, dialing. I stood there, shivering, replaying it all. The cab arrived fast, and I mumbled a thank you to Dave, his name sticking with me like a lifeline. He was a hero, no question. In the cab, the city blurred past, my heart still racing. At home, I locked the door, checked every window, and sank onto my bed, feeling like I'd aged 5 years in one night. I didn't sleep, the sound of those footsteps echoing in my head. The next day, I walked the same route in daylight, looking for any sign, a footprint, anything, but there was nothing. I told my coworker, who said I was stressed, maybe mistaken. But I know what I saw, what I felt. I drive now, but every night, I hear those steps in my dreams, and I wonder if he's still out there, waiting for another chance. The party was Sophie's obsession, a warehouse rave with strobe lights slicing through the dark, bass rattling my ribs, and a crowd that pulsed like a living thing. She was in her element, twirling through strangers, her laughter cutting through the noise. I, Ellie, was over it by 1:30 a.m., my head pounding from the heat and cheap vodka. "Soph, I'm done," I said, grabbing her wrist as she danced past. "Already?" she whined, but my glare shut her down. She sighed, snatching her jacket. "Fine, but we're taking the canal path. It's faster, and I'm not ready to crash yet." I tensed. The canal path was a shortcut, but at night it was eerie, water like ink, shadows that seemed to shift on their own. Still, Sophie was already out the door, and I jogged to catch up, the city's buzz fading behind us. The path hugged the canal, its surface glassy, swallowing the faint glow of street lamps. The air was damp, thick with the smell of mud and something metallic. Sophie was still wired, ranting about a guy who'd spilled beer on her, but I felt exposed, my sneakers scraping the gravel too loudly in the quiet. A few minutes in, I heard it, a soft thud, like a footfall, just behind us. My heart skipped, and I stopped, grabbing Sophie's arm. "Did you hear that?" She rolled her eyes, pulling free. "What a squirrel. You're so paranoid, Ellie." I scanned the path, but it was empty, just shadows twisting in the breeze. The hairs on my neck stood up, like someone was watching. "Let's move," I muttered, trying to shake it off. We walked faster, Sophie's chatter unbroken, but the feeling grew, heavy and cold. Then I saw him, a man, maybe 40 yards back, under a lamppost. Dark jacket, hood up, hands in pockets, standing still, like he'd been there all along. My stomach lurched. "Soph, there's someone," I whispered, nodding backward. She glanced, scoffing. "It's just some guy walking. Chill." I looked again, and he was still there, head tilted our way. "He's not moving," I hissed. Sophie shrugged, but I caught her peeking back, her smirk faltering. The path curved, trees blocking the light, and I heard it again. A crunch, closer, deliberate. I spun around, but the lamppost was empty. My pulse raced. "He was right there," I said, voice shaking. "Where'd he go?" "You're imagining things," Sophie snapped, but her steps quickened. I wanted to believe her, but the crunch came again, now with a faint shuffle, like someone weaving through the dark. I checked behind us, and there he was, closer, by a bench, same jacket, same stillness. "Sophie, look." I grabbed her, my voice sharp. She turned, and this time, she froze. "Okay, that's weird," she whispered, her bravado gone. The man didn't move, but his presence felt like a weight, pressing down. My chest tightened. Was he following us? The shuffle grew louder, faster, like he was closing in. Sophie's eyes widened. "Ellie, he's moving," she said, voice trembling. I looked, and he was walking now, strides long and purposeful, cutting the distance. Panic hit like a wave, raw and suffocating. My mind flashed to every horror movie. Girls who didn't run, who waited too long. "We need to go," I said, pulling her. We broke into a jog, the canal's edge glinting to our left, its water too still, like it was holding its breath. The footsteps followed, heavy, relentless, echoing in the dark. I glanced back, and he was closer, 20 feet. Maybe, his hood hiding his face, but his intent clear. Sophie gasped, clutching my arm. "He's right there," she choked out, her voice cracking. My heart pounded, terror clawing at me. Was this real? He was too close, too deliberate, but my mind screamed doubt. Were we overreacting? The path seemed to stretch, the city lights too far. Then Sophie pointed, her voice shrill. There, ahead, a faint neon glow cut through the dark, a 24-hour convenience store, its sign buzzing. "Run!" I shouted, and we sprinted, gravel flying, our breaths ragged. The footsteps thundered behind us, closer, like he was gaining. I didn't dare look back, fear choking me. We burst through the store's door, the fluorescent lights blinding. The clerk, a bored guy in his 20s, looked up from his phone. "You okay?" he asked, frowning as we panted, wild-eyed. "Someone's following us." I gasped, my voice shaking. "Can we use your phone? Ours are dead." I checked my pocket. My phone wouldn't turn on, and Sophie's was the same, drained or broken, I didn't know. We'd have called a cab hours ago if they'd worked. He nodded, sliding a landline across the counter. I dialed a cab company, my hands trembling, while Sophie watched the door, her face pale. "Hurry," she whispered. The clerk stepped outside, peering down the path, but came back shaking his head. "Don't see anyone," he said, but his voice was uneasy, like he sensed something. The cab arrived in 10 minutes, its headlights a lifeline. We piled in, rattling off our address, and I kept checking the rear view, expecting him. The path was empty, just shadows under the lamps. At our apartment, I locked the door, checked every window, and sank onto the couch, my body still wired. Sophie was quiet, her usual spark gone. "Was he really there?" she asked, voice small. I didn't answer. Those footsteps, that hooded figure, they felt too real, but the empty path gnawed at me. The next morning, I went out for coffee, still jumpy. Across the street, by a newsstand, I saw him, same jacket, same hood, standing still. My heart stopped. I blinked, and he was gone, the spot empty, just a woman buying a paper. I checked, but there was nothing, no sign he'd been there. My mind was unraveling. It had to be. I told Sophie, who didn't laugh this time. "Maybe we both saw him," she said, but her eyes were scared. I don't take the canal path anymore. Every night, I hear those footsteps in my head, and I wonder if he's out there, or if our fear turned the dark into something we can't escape. Work had been a slow bleed, endless emails, a client chewing me out over nothing. By 11 p.m., I was done, the office's fluorescent hum still buzzing in my skull. My apartment was a 30-minute walk, and I needed the cold air to shake off the day. The city was quiet, its usual chaos dialed down to a low drone. I pulled my hood up, music faint in my earbuds, and started home, sticking to the main streets where sodium lights burned orange. A few blocks in, something shifted, a prickle on my neck, like I'd crossed an invisible line. I yanked out an earbud, slowing to listen. Footsteps, soft but distinct, trailed mine, just out of rhythm. I stopped, holding my breath. The steps stopped, a heartbeat too late. My pulse kicked up. I turned, scanning the street. Empty, just parked cars and flickering signs. "You're fine, Nate," I muttered, but my voice sounded hollow. I walked again, faster, the footsteps returning, closer now, like they were testing my nerve. I glanced over my shoulder, and there he was, 20 feet back, a guy in a dark cap, hands in pockets, head low. He didn't look up, just kept walking, too smooth, too deliberate. Was he following me? I sped up, turning a corner into a brighter street. The steps faded, and when I checked, he was gone. My chest loosened. Just some guy, right? But why did it feel so wrong? The footsteps came back, now with a scrape, like boots on asphalt. I spun around, but the street was empty, just shadows pooling under streetlights. My heart hammered. Was I hearing things? I took a side street, hoping to lose whatever this was, but at the next intersection, I saw him again, across the road, leaning against a shuttered storefront, cap hiding his face. My stomach lurched. "Hey," I called, voice cracking. He didn't move, just stood there, like he was waiting. I blinked, and he was walking away, blending into the dark. Was that even the same guy? My mind was fraying, doubt clawing at me. I kept moving, sticking to lit areas, but the steps dogged me, now uneven, like he was circling. I checked behind me, and there he was, closer, maybe 10 feet, cap low, hands still in pockets. "What do you want?" I shouted, my voice echoing. He stopped, head tilting slightly, then turned into an alley. I stood, frozen, breath ragged. Did that just happen? Was he really there, or was I losing it? I jogged the last few blocks, weaving through streets, checking every shadow. No one followed, but the feeling of eyes on me didn't fade. At my building, I fumbled my keys, half expecting him to appear. The lobby was empty, the hum of the elevator grounding me. I locked my door, checked the windows twice, and collapsed on the couch, adrenaline souring into exhaustion. Sleep was a lost cause. Every creak, every car horn had me picturing that figure outside. Was he real? Those steps, that tilt of his head, it felt too sharp, too intentional to be my imagination. The next morning, I went out for air, trying to shake the fog of fear. At the corner store, I saw him. Same cap, same slouch, standing by the newspaper box. My blood froze. I took a step, blinking to clear my head, and he was gone, the spot empty, just a delivery guy unloading crates. I checked around, heart pounding, but there was no trace, no sign he'd been there. My mind was screwing with me. It had to be. I told my coworker Jake, who laughed. "Late nights, man. You're seeing ghosts." But I can't let it go. I take the bus now, but sometimes, in the quiet, I hear those steps, and I wonder if he's out there, or if the city's turned my fear into something I can't outrun.